Hey, and welcome. You know how we're always seeing these huge, flashy numbers in the news? They seem to tell a really simple story. But what if one of those giant numbers is actually hiding a massive secret right there in plain sight? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and uncover that story. Let's get into it.
So let me start by asking you a question. When you hear that a country has, say, over 1 billion people, what's the first thing you think of? Power, right? Strength? An absolutely unstoppable future? I mean, it seems obvious. But what if that number isn't a roadmap for what's coming, but more like a photo of where they've been? I mean, look at this number, 1.4 billion. It's just staggering, almost impossible to really wrap your head around. But the real story, the thing that tells you where a country is actually heading, it's not in that big total. Nope, it's hidden in the flow, in the quiet little changes happening just beneath the surface. Now, to figure this all out, we don't need some complex economic model or, a deep political dive. All we need is one simple tool, a single number that basically unlocks the whole secret. And here it is, the fertility rate. I know, it sounds kind of technical, but it's so simple. It's just the average number of kids a woman has. That's it. That's literally it. No politics, no drama, just straight up math. And this one little number tells us if a population is growing, shrinking, or just kind of holding steady. And the crucial number within that number is 2.1. This is the magic number. It's what's called the replacement level. So if women are having, on average, 2.1 children, the population stays perfectly stable. Think about it. One kid to replace the mom, one to replace the dad, and that extra 0.1, that just covers for people who might not have kids or other little factors. Super simple, but incredibly powerful. Okay, so now for the fun part. Let's take this new tool of ours, this magic number, and apply it to a real-world situation. And you're going to see how it reveals two totally different futures, both hidden behind the exact same kind of headlines. To make this super clear, let's just use a simple analogy. I want you to picture a country's population like a giant water tank. The level of the water inside, well, that's the total population, that big 1.4 billion number we were just looking at. So you've got this tank, right? There's a tap pouring water in at the top. Those are the births. The water level is the total population. And at the bottom, there's a drain where water is flowing out. Those are deaths. It's pretty obvious. For the water level to go up, you need the tap flowing faster than the drain. And here's the key. That fertility rate we talked about, that's the long-term strength of the tap. If that rate is way below 2.1 for a long time, it means the tap is getting weaker and weaker. So even if the tank looks totally full today, you know with absolute certainty that eventually the water level has to go down. Okay, so let's put it all together. Check this out. On one side, we have China. The big headline story, its massive population. But the underlying flow, its fertility rate, is way below 2.1. Some estimates put it closer to 1, so the future outlook, probably a shrinking workforce. Now, on the other side, you've got the ASEAN region, right? A collection of young, growing countries. What's their flow? Well, countries like Indonesia and the Philippines have fertility rates much closer to that magic 2.1, and that suggests sustained youth and energy for decades to come. See the difference? So, why are we talking about all this? Because this idea of looking at the flow instead of just the total is a really powerful way to think about, well, pretty much anything. It's about training yourself to see the direction things are moving, not just getting impressed by where they are right now. The real takeaway here is to stop staring at the big, flashy number in the headline, and instead train your eyes to see the flow underneath. This is how long-term planners and really serious investors look at the world. They don't care about today's snapshot as much as they care about the trend, the rate of change. And this logic, it pops up everywhere. Think about it. With populations, you look at the fertility rate, not just the raw head count. Well, it's the exact same thing with digital assets. The real story isn't the giant market cap number that flashes on your screen. No, it's the flow of real users and real activity. So what happens when you take this exact idea and apply it to a space that's new and, let's be honest, often pretty confusing? What if you built a whole community designed to help people ignore those distracting numbers and focus on the steady underlying flow of what's real? Well, you'd get something that looks a lot like Seven Dao ASEAN.
It's a learning community built specifically for people here in Southeast Asia who are curious about this whole new digital world, but they want to do it without all the hype and the crazy speculation.
Their whole philosophy is about focusing on that flow. Instead of gambling or trying to guess the market, the goal is just participation and understanding. It's a safe space to learn, with no hype and no fear. It's all built around this idea of simple, steady, long-term learning, a model that honestly fits perfectly with the youthful energy we see all across Southeast Asia.
The model is actually really cool and simple. It's a learning community where just by showing up and participating, you automatically and steadily build up a base of digital assets over time. You don't have to trade, you don't have to time anything, you just learn, you engage, and you grow. It completely shifts the focus from making risky bets to building consistent, healthy habits.
So, we'll leave you with this to think about. Now that you know how to look for the flow instead of just the total, what other big, impressive numbers that you see every day might be hiding a much more interesting and way more important story? Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.